Lovers of love, and thank you for joining us on yet another excursion through the stream of consciousness down the river of tranquility to fill the lake of life with love.
And good evening, our fellow lovers out there. We want to welcome you to, I guess it's the 4th of July weekend. For those of us here in the United States, it's a big deal. But for us here on this show, it's just another weekend.
Yes, it is.
It's just another weekend. And we've got Lubby spent some time on Reddit again. It's a dangerous place for Lubby to be, but
It's fascinating.
Fascinating. See, we're gonna have to create ourselves our own Reddit. All right, that's coming up here soon. As soon as we can figure that out. All right, we're not going to spend a lot of time in a pre-thing today because I don't have much to say today. So there.
Well, it's been an interesting day. Baseball.
No, I don't know.
Your sleep is off.
Yeah, I'm sleeping all weird. My sleep is all weird. So, in the spirit of my sleep being all weird and Lubby being on Reddit, we've got a load of questions today, so we're just going to dive right in. What's the first one? First one we're starting with work, right?
I did 5 work, 5 relationship, 5 parenting, and 5 sex.
Yeah, and I called a couple out, but so let's see how many. Let's see if we can snap through these here today. Let's see if we can.
Okay, let's start with the work ones.
All right,
we'll start easy. I started a new job. It was an agency who found a job and said it would be perfect for me. It's 3 grades below my previous job and already bored with the first day because it's not challenging enough. Is it too early to leave for another job?
Well, if you're working for like a temp agency, then the answer is no, unless you need the money. And the answer is you just do the job. Who cares if you're bored? Sometimes you're just working just because you need the money, and it doesn't matter if you're bored. Who cares if you're bored and not challenged? You need to work. And an agency may not be the best way to get the kind of job that you're not going to be bored at. So what you do is you work at this job while you go off and do the real job search. Right? That's what those types of things are for. Or maybe there's, depending upon the various companies and their own policies, maybe there's room to find someone to quickly move up to the condition where to the position where you think you should be. I always use those temp agencies as a way to, in a sense, that probationary period works both ways. Works in your favor as well. You get to interview the company. You get to work and see the culture and see the type of jobs you are and see how they handle things in an environment where leaving isn't such a big deal because it's a temp agency.
Yep.
And so, it's not the same thing. So, I maybe want to say try it for more than a day. Maybe you're taking it easy on you the first day, and you can get some more. You can, as it goes on, you can find where the challenges are. They don't dump the difficult things on the new person. They just don't, right? They give you the easy stuff.
That's right.
They start you with the easy stuff. So give it a little while. Give it a few days at least. But I also get the point. You don't want to stick somewhere where you're going to end up getting your real job search behind, right? Where you're going to end up being a year behind because you were stuck in a job and you weren't looking. But so keep continuing to do the real job search. But think of this as something to keep your mind occupied while you're doing it.
Okay, I'm new to my company, but I still don't really feel like I fit in, and it's hard to feel part of the team. I'm much younger than everyone, only 21, and the rest are all in their late 30s and 40s. I'm not extroverted, so it's really unnatural for me to just walk up to strangers in the wider team, and I haven't had anyone try to talk to me or get to know me. This is also my first job since I just graduated. My only teamwork in the office 2 days a week, and the rest is from home. So how am I expected to develop any relationships with people?
Okay, one, you've been there a few months. you're not going to develop or, manage your expectations to start. And two, while it's beneficial to both the company and the culture and all that to have a team communications and where everybody feels at home and everybody feels safe, that's not the norm. So, you're looking for the unicorn, but maybe you just have a regular old job, and the relationships you're working for, you're going to have to find outside of work. Those human connections you're looking for, you're going to have to find outside of work. And I get it. You're young and that's where your connections are. But, you've only used to being connected to the people around you, right? At school, your friends are the people who you spend your time with at school. And so it's natural to want to transfer that to the people who you work with. But work isn't like that. Work is work. And sometimes you find people who can be friends in work, but that's not what work is for.
It's rare.
And it's nice to work in a place that actually cares. If you have a place that actually cares about you as a human being, and it's a nice place to be, but you can't really expect it. We should expect it, but we can't. That's not how the world is. But there is a benefit to you being the young one in this team. You have people who have been there and done that. You can learn from them, and they can learn from you. So you do have things to offer.
Yes.
You can bridge the gap. They don't know how young people think. They don't know how young people operate. You can offer that to them. That's where your value comes in. You can think outside the box because they've been living in the box for a long time. So you can offer perspective from outside the box. But when you do, make sure it's understandable. Hey, I understand why you guys have been doing this way. Or maybe, hey, can you help me understand why we're doing this things way? Because, from my perspective, it seems like it might be better if we do it this way. But before I want to say that, can you make me understand why we do it this way? There's ways. You have to initiate these conversations. You're waiting for people to come to you. Well, there's people you are responsible for. There's people who are responsible for you. There are people who work around you, whose your work interacts with theirs. Interact with them. Call up, say, hey, I'm working on this. I just want to be clear about something. And just, even if you're 99% sure you're good, call up and say, can you cover this for me? And you do those kinds of things, and you'll eventually start to build relationships just the way you build any other relationship. And you have to be an active participant as well. You're 22, 23 years old, 21, was it?
21.
21. They're in their 30s. They don't know how to interact with you as just as much as you don't know how to interact with them. Start there. You have something in common. Hey, this is really awkward for me. Is there any way we can figure out how to deal with this? And you know what? It's really awkward for me too. Is probably what you're going to find out. I don't know how to. So, you actually probably do have something in common. They probably are trying to figure out how to reach you as well. And so start with that. Okay. Start with the common ground. And that seems to me where your common ground is. Okay.
I'm looking for ways to deal with the frustration I often feel from my coworkers being lazy. I have been at my new job for a year now. Most of my coworkers, there's just a few of us, have been there for several years. I find that I'm getting stuck doing the majority of the work each day. Oftentimes, I will look around and be the only one in the work area, while the others have just disappeared or are off having chit-chat conversations for an hour at a time. I have tried to scale back the amount of work that I do, but that just goes against everything in my personality, and I end up doing it anyway. I would appreciate any advice.
Don't assume what people are and not doing. You don't know what their tasks are. Those chit chats that they're having for hours at a time, they may be working on something that's above your pay grade that you're not responsible for. It's very difficult to know what other people's job responsibilities are. Don't worry about theirs. Worry about yours. And other things will take care of themselves. And if you really feel that way, then you're in an environment that's toxic for you, and you start looking for someplace else. I mean, without knowing what the workload is, maybe they just know how much their workload is and how long it takes them to do it, and so that's what they're going to do. You're finished early, and now you're going to be bored all day. Or they've given you just the right amount of work, and they have their own work to do. A lot of people, when they come in and they're new to a company, they sit and they put their head down, they do a lot of work, and they look around and they see people who have been there for a long time who are very good at their jobs, so they don't look like they're working very hard. Doesn't mean they're not. It means they're just good at their jobs. So before you have that feeling, make sure you have the proper perspective. Just because you don't see them doing the same type of work you're doing doesn't mean they're not working. And a lot of times, a lot of work is thought. It's in your head. It's not sitting down there thinking, working. It's working through issues. It's talking with people, working through problems. It's not work that you can, quantitate. That you can put on a thing. There's solving problems isn't like that. So anyway, worry about yourself, not about other people. That would be my thing. And if you find it toxic, if you find it a toxic work environment, look for someplace else. That's your choices, because So.
It's pretty simple.
My guess is it's probably not as cut and dry as it seems. Yeah. While there are people who are, you've had it. Hey, having worked on assembly lines, you've had it where, can you slow down because you're making the rest of us look bad simply because, I got long arms and I can do more work than other people because of the way the layout was. I have long arms, and people with shorter arms have trouble moving as fast as I do because of the way the work was, that particular work. And it's like, oh, okay, well, just give me a little bit extra work that naturally slows me down. You gab me one thing, you take one thing off of other people, and it naturally slows me down. And so there's ways to change it without actually slowing me down. So I didn't have to feel like I slowed down. You just changed the layout a little bit. It naturally slowed me down. And it actually helped them as well because they didn't have to reach as far. You put me next to someone with shorter arms, and it made the whole flow work better. See, because what a lot of people don't understand is if one person works faster, just naturally faster than the other people, it can screw things up. And so sometimes you do have to slow down to go fast because it's not just about you. It's about the team. It's not just about you doing your work. It's about the team. And, there's a race car driver analogy. Sometimes you have to slow down to go fast because if you go fast, you burn the tires off and you have to go into the pit and change the tires. And no matter how fast the pit crew is, it still takes more time to change the tires than you can ever earn back out on the track. And so maybe you do need to slow down a little. Maybe you don't have the perspective of what's good for the team. Or maybe that's your job is to do that. Their job is to work on other problems. Don't know. Without knowing the details of the job, it's impossible to know. Are you all actually doing the same job? I somehow doubt it. If it's a small place and there's only a handful of employees, I very doubt you're all doing the same job. You all have vastly different jobs, and so you can't compare. So anyway, let's move on.
How do I tell if I'm in a stressful work position or if I just can't handle stress responsibilities well? Feeling overwhelmed and overloaded in position, which theoretically should be fun.
One, if you're feeling stressed, it means it's stressful. It just is. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, it probably means you need more training to do the job properly. Because it theoretically should be fun, but it's feeling stressful. But to me, as someone who has led teams, that's a signal. That's a sign of a lack of training. Not a lack of capability. It's a lack of training. You haven't been trained properly to do the job you've been asked to do, and so you're feeling overwhelmed. That's the job of your supervisor or the people who are in charge of you to give you the training and support you need. Yeah, but they have to know, so you have to ask for it, and that's the hard part. Learning to ask for it without sounding like you're whining is the hard part. So what do? Hey, Pat, whoever your boss is, you go to the person who's responsible for you. I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, and I can't quite figure out why. Can you help me? Help me figure it out. They'll do it. If they're a halfway decent boss, they'll help you figure it out because it makes the whole team work better. Okay, and it's hard to do. It's admitting that you feel overwhelmed on something, but it's how we all get better.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I was asked to join a call today by my boss and the CEO of the company I work for.
Move that one out. Sorry.
Okay, let's skip it because that's...
Yeah, well, in short, you can go to the website and read it. It's just a long thing, and it's essentially they're setting you up to lay you off, to fire you, is what's happening, and so start looking for another job. It's just that's what they're doing. They're getting all their reasonings for laying you off or firing you onto paperwork, and so see the train coming and get off the tracks. Would be my suggestion.
All right.
Or prepare to jump tracks, right? It's prepare for it. It's coming. So, all right, we'll move on.
Okay, we're going to switch gears. We're going to move into parenting questions. I'm a single dad, and my 13-year-old daughter wants to start wearing bikini swimwear. Is she too young for that?
There's no correct answer. There's not. There's the answer that you and your daughter figure out. And there's the only way to do is to figure out, because what you don't want to do is give her something to rebel against. But you also want to make sure she's not doing this as an act of rebellion. And so, I would be skeptical, but I also wouldn't immediately say no. It depends on the daughter. Depends on the outfit. Those kind of things.
There are some very nice two pieces out there.
Yeah, so it's right around that time, right? It's a natural time for that question, for that conversation to be had, right? So you're not out of the norm of.
No, this is very normal.
It's the natural time for this to be happening, and so that's why I'm saying there's not a right or wrong answer, because it depends on the child and the circumstances and your family and your choices. But as a single dad, it's you're trying to walk two things. Your instinct is to both let your children, as a father, your instinct is to both let them go out and let them experience the world and experiment and try things, because that's what dads do. But you're also playing the role of mother, which is overprotective, and so you've got that dual role that you're trying to play, and that's difficult. That's actually why it's best to have two parents. So you've got one person who gets to be overprotective, one person who gets to shoot them off on the bicycle and let them go off ride by themselves, and the chance to get hurt. And those conversations of trying to get that is where you end up with your family line, right? That's how that happens. And when you have one person trying to do that, it's difficult. And you come to the places like Reddit, you ask people, what's your opinion? And they'd go, well, in my family, we did X, Y, and Z. But they're not your family. And so you and your daughter are going to have to learn how to navigate these teenage years. And this is where you start. And it starts with the conversation of asking her why she wants to wear the bikini. Start with the conversation of why. Don't judge. Just ask why to try to understand. And the minute you can understand where she's coming from, you two will easily come to an agreement. You will. Because once you guys start to understand each other, the agreements become easier. Not that you won't have disagreements and you'll have to put your foot down every now and again, because you will. But it'll be much easier to navigate. And this is where you start practicing. And the best thing is, you get a chance to teach her how to do relationships properly. Teach her how to resolve issues. Teach her how to negotiate in relationships properly. It's a wonderful gift. It's an opportunity to give your daughter a wonderful gift. Well, any child. But at these teenage years, it's actually the opportunity to give a wonderful gift.
Yes.
of how to navigate relationships. So, okay, let's go. Yeah, we're not going to get through all these tonight. It's already night. Unless we're going to stay for an hour. All right, let's go. What do we got?
I have two boys, 9 and 13. The 9-year-old is curious, thoughtful, creative, makes bucket lists, has passions and interests. My 13-year-old is sweet and kind, gets straight A's, but he has no interests or passions. He's not a thinker, if that makes sense. No real sense of curiosity. How do I help him?
Leave him alone.
Let him find his passion.
Let him be. You know, there's some people who, I forget what the term is, who have low enthusiasm. Doesn't mean they don't have passions. It's just they don't express it. You know, some people go to a football game, they put their paint on and stuff, and they get all expressed. And other people who, they like football just as much, they like their team just as much, but they don't do any of that. You know, yeah, I'll watch the game if it's fun. You know, so just because he doesn't show the same enthusiasm for things as other people doesn't mean he doesn't have it. He just expresses it differently. It manifests differently. And the second one is just leave him alone. He is what he is. Whether he finds his passion or not is, if he's happy, there's nothing to fix. If he's content, there's nothing to fix. And if his personality is, you know, I just want to have relationships. I will make money however I make money, but my relationships in life is going to be more important to me. Then he'll be fine. He'll plug into some corporate system and he'll be a cog in the wheel and he'll enjoy his life. You know, maybe he'll end up being a teacher or something, you know, something a bureaucrat. Doesn't matter. The world needs people like that too. So my question is just, what you want to help him be is help him be the best him he can be. And if that's a kind, compassionate human being that gets straight A's, that's a kind, compassionate human being that gets straight A's. And that's what you help him become. And however that manifests into his adulthood, it will manifest into his adulthood. Maybe he'll become a bureaucrat at the DMV, but he'll be happy being a bureaucrat at the DMV. So if you try to force him to become something he's not, that's what's going to make him unhappy. So just let him be. Okay.
Okay, I'm skipping.
Okay.
My 16-year-old recently earned access to social media, knowingly monitor it, and have full access to his account. He met a girl on Instagram about 8 hours ago. Since they started talking, they progressed to boyfriend, girlfriend, full-on I loves yous. But seemingly first the kid sent my son not only nudes, but graphic videos of her pleasuring herself. I know this because when I did a phone check this evening, he had deleted the chat, told her they couldn't send nudes because he didn't want to get in trouble, then went on to compliment her in extreme detail on every bit of the videos and pics she sent. Now what do I do?
Well, one, yeah, you can't send those kind of things because the government don't like that. So don't do that. But at the same time, it's almost perfectly natural these days. And it's kind of the world we live in. And in a strange sense, you created the problem. You didn't let them practice using social media until he was 16. So he didn't know how to use it properly. Doesn't know how to moderate himself. Never learned the skills. So what do? You probably have a conversation about, you know, respect for other people. You know, because compliment is probably a euphemism. I'm assuming.
Yes.
I'm assuming compliment is a bit of a euphemism. So there's probably a discussion about respect you have to have, which you have to have with every 16-year-old boy. So it's not such a big, it's just, here's your opportunity about respect and doing the right thing and overcoming your basic human urges because, you know, while we are animals, we live in this thing called a society, and you have to control it. All of us do.
Yes, we do.
So this is a danger of limiting your child's access to social media and the internet until they're older. If you haven't learned how to use it and put it properly in its place, and then you put them with got their hormones running, Anyway, it's a danger. All right, I don't have a good answer for that one, to be honest. Other than you're correct that you need to delete that stuff and you can't send that kind of things over the internet, because if you're under 18, the government hates that, and you can really get in trouble and screw up your lives. So the practical question is no. So that's the practical part of it. And you may just want to stick with the practical part of it and then have the other conversations separately. But at this stage, I'm just talking in circles because I have no idea. So, all right, what's next?
I, 26-year-old female, used to make a big deal of my husband's 28-year-old male birthday. He never gave much feedback or seemed to care, so I didn't make a card and worked on his birthday this year. Now he's upset. He didn't care when I made a fuss. I'm very confused.
No, but that one's actually easy. It's not the fuss. It's not necessarily that he needs a fuss. It's that you didn't tell him you weren't going to make a fuss. Expectations were one thing, and then because you'd set expectations, and despite the fact that just because he doesn't express a lot of enthusiasm for it doesn't mean he doesn't care. And if he'd have known that you were going to, hey, it wouldn't have bothered him, but it kind of caught him out by surprise. And they're 28 and they're in your late 20s. When you get into your 30s, your birthdays don't care. So now I'm one of those people who I don't care about a birthday cards or any of that kind of stuff. So it's hard for me to kind of relate to people who do. I know people do, and so I could kind of.
I would be crushed if you didn't give me a birthday card. You always pick the perfect one, too.
You didn't get one this year.
Yes, I did.
Did you? No.
Oh, I didn't.
No.
Why didn't you get me a birthday card?
I couldn't see them.
Oh.
Well, I searched March, and no, I couldn't see it because I still couldn't see it because my first eye surgery was in the middle of March. So, and it took a month before I could see anything, so I couldn't see. And I couldn't get anywhere. So that was the other issue. So you didn't get one this year. Not that I didn't want to, but yes, a general rule of thumb. There are reasons. Okay? See, and you weren't crushed and you weren't hurt because we dealt with it the other way. I saw that we didn't acknowledge your birthday.
No, we didn't. It was a great birthday.
I just didn't get the chance to get you a card. There's, a card is just a symbol. It's acknowledging the birthday doesn't require a card.
It was a special day.
So I don't know why was he upset, because you changed expectations without him knowing. He'll get over it. Don't worry about it. That's would be my suggestion. Don't worry about it, and then ask him next year what he wants you to do. That's what I would do. What do you want me to do for your birthday this year? That's month before his birthday. What do you want me to do for your birthday this year? If he says he doesn't care, then you don't do anything. And if he gets all butthurt about it, you say, I asked you. And then he'll have to deal with it. All right, what else you got?
How does one overcome infidelity? It's been over a year since my husband cheated. I've been trying to heal and forgive, but I just can't get over it. I asked him to go to therapy, put more effort into the marriage. His priority is work, etc. Anytime it comes up, he is defensive and upset. He hasn't really created space for me to heal, which I feel has disrupted the rebuilding process. It seems like he doesn't think what he did was that bad and just wants to move forward. I hate that it's all on me to get over it. Any advice?
Yeah, get over it and move on. Not with your own life and the marriage, and move on, because he doesn't want to put his part in it. At this stage, he needs to work harder than you on this. And if he's not willing to even put in equal effort, then you're always going to be swimming uphill, and it's time for you to move on. If you're going to put that much effort into a relationship, it should be on one that's mutual. And it's clearly not a mutual relationship. And he doesn't want it to be. So that one's actually easy. Clearly, he doesn't want to put in the same amount of effort or care into the relationship as you do. He wants you to do all the work. He wants you to magically forgive him without him doing anything to, I applaud your desire to want to save your marriage. I really do. And you've done more effort than you should be required to do. So I applaud your effort, and now it's time to think about yourself. Sometimes there's no sweet endings to these things. Even I can't put a silver lining on that one.
Okay, do we have time for one more?
Yeah.
Okay, my boyfriend has e-sex with random people on online games, and I just found out. What do I do? Is this cheating, or am I overreacting?
Well, whether it's cheating or if you're overreacting is entirely dependent on your relationship. So you have to work that out between the two of you. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It's entirely dependent on your relationship. Because for some people, it's not the physical infidelity that bothers people. It's the emotional infidelity that bothers people. It's the emotional attachment or detachment that you feel after infidelity that makes people feel hurt. And so now whether, online relationships like that is a problem or not is entirely dependent on your relationship and where you stand and where they stand and, the history of individuals. And so you are clearly bothered by it. And so you're going to have to work through it.
Okay, I have to preface this by saying they were both 22.
Yeah, well, so they're young. And there's habits. Well, it's not even the 22 doesn't matter, except for they're just being inexperienced in relationships, on navigating relationships.
I was crushed when I found out that my first husband had porn. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, women are. There was a discussion I was listening to, and I don't remember from where, that a comedian. She was a comedian talking about the first time she got rejected, turned down for sex, and she says she was shocked. She says, "Never been turned down for sex before." And he was just tired. I was shocked. So I was shocked. Says I felt like wholly rejected. So this is what men like feel all the time. And so it was. So men are just so much better at handling rejection because it happens to them so often. From the very young age, from a teenagers, they're just constantly rejected, right? And so they've built up this immunity essentially to rejection. And in a sense, our own cultures, male culture in a sense, helps that, right? Because we're brutal to the people we love the most, right? Our best friends, we are the most brutal to our best friends, right?
You guys are. You're so mean to each other.
But that's the people we like. We're actually nice to the people we don't. We're kind of strange. But in a sense, that builds up this tough skin kind of thing. But women aren't used to that, right? Young women especially,
I can count on one hand how many times I've been rejected.
So when it happens, it's very hurtful. So when
I remember them.
So when it feels, yeah, see? Men don't remind. How many times you were rejected? I know. I don't know. But so it actually, in a sense, it hurts women more because they don't have the history of having to deal with it. So when you find out your spouse was watching porn, or you're having, to what a man is just kind of, light entertainment, to a woman is rejection.
It was. I thought, I'm not enough.
Yeah, and the man, what the hell are you talking about? To the guy, it's a completely different experience. It's a
And
completely.
I questioned myself. I asked him, is there anything I'm not doing?
Yeah, to women, it's about women, and to men, it's just no, it's just so I don't bother you so much. I don't want to get turned down by you, and quite frankly, the magazine can't turn me down. You know, I'm not in the mood to get rejected today. If you want to get base, that's probably why there's a lot to it there. Porn can't reject you. If you're in the reward, porn can never say no. So there is some benefit, on that kind of a thing. So what do? You have the discussion because you're 22 and you're learning how to navigate relationships, and you have to figure out, okay, why are you feeling rejected? And you have to figure out, what is he doing? Is it just light entertainment? So it's maybe, or is it he's trying to fulfill something he's not getting? Because there is difference. There's a difference between light entertainment and, trying to fulfill some part of, the hole in a relationship that he does that you're not getting.
Some deeper connection.
So if it's just light entertainment, all depends. You just have to have the discussion. There was one more, because I wanted you to answer, actually, in there, because there's one for Lubby to answer. Here, no, I get it. Hold on. There's one we want Lubby to answer, because I can't answer it. Okay. BSDM partner with the vanilla partner. Help.
Okay, this was a very long one, and she was married. And she married him knowing. He tried a couple times, but it wasn't his thing. And she was content for a while, but now she's starting to have fantasies. What do I do? You married him, girlfriend. You knew what he was.
Well,
that's like being a polygamist and polyamorous and going into a monogamous relationship. It's not for you.
Well, but of course, the thing is, when you're talking about people's sexuality evolves. So just because someone's vanilla at one age doesn't mean they're always going to be, or just because someone's more experimental at a young age doesn't mean they're always going to be. These things do evolve. So, and what she's actually facing is she's actually evolved. She was comfortable making that sacrifice. Call it a sacrifice, for lack of a better word, at a young age. But now she's coming to decide maybe she's not as comfortable now as she was then. My question is there something else in her life that she's trying to fill? Why is she all of a sudden not satisfied? And maybe she's not. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a stage. Maybe she's having fantasies, and it's just a stage of fantasies. We all go through them. It's not such a big deal.
If it's a long-term marriage, there's going to be periods where you have feelings of your eye wanders and there's fantasies.
No, it's not even necessarily eye wandering. It's just, sometimes you have desires that your partner can't fill. And so on occasion you have the fantasies about them. But, over time, it goes, everything gets put back in its proper place, because sex is just, it's
just sex.
It's sex and it's fun, and we all get that. But the real point to it is to remain close. And if you're close, if you're connected to your partner, then you can overcome. the differences.
There is a deeper contentment in long-term committed relationships than, do I have to say it? Than flings.
Yeah. Well, and nature plays a cool trick on us, right? For most of human history, extinction was around the corner. And so just like every other animal, the main drive, the main purpose is procreation. And so nature has played a cool trick on us. In our younger years, procreation is a dominant force biologically. Hormones and all that, right? So in our younger years, sex is very important, becomes very important to us. But as we get older and you switch from procreating to raising and building societies and families, you've built in that framework of sexuality, but it's now functions. You now have a lifestyle that's vastly different. You're 40, 50 years old. You're no longer. Sex plays a vastly different role in your life than it did when you were 20, biologically. But we've set the patterns, the learning patterns, the relationship patterns in our 20s, and we carry those off into our 50s, and it's daft. But in the past, we didn't live to our 50s, or not a lot of us. It was so focused on procreating that we created thought processes and habits, relationship habits that were suited for procreating. And then we try to take those procreating habits and impose them when we're older, 40s and 50s. And we wonder why they don't work. Because our relationships have changed. Our bodies literally have changed. So, what do? The same thing you do with every other relationship problem. You deal with it. You talk through it. If you need a counselor, you get a counselor. Man.
Share with him.
And he may be willing to evolve. He may have his own, sexualities that he wants to explore, but he's afraid of rejection. So, you may be willing to kind of go down that road. So you may need a sex therapist for all we know.
That sounds like a good idea.
And if he's really vanilla, that may be hard for you. But, he's tried the thing a couple times for you, so he might be willing to have a discussion with a sex therapist, as long as it's not trying to convince you. He doesn't think, as long as he knows you're not trying to convince him to go into your way, you're just trying to find a solution to your mutual problem. You're just trying to navigate a path through this, trying to figure out how to get through it. Because if someone thinks they're being manipulated, then they're going to reject it. So you can't have an end goal of what your end goal is in mind. You don't know what your end goal is. Your end goal, your goal has to be to figure out what your end goal is. That's your goal. Whatever your sexual lifestyle happens to be at the end goal, that's what it is. But you don't know what that is yet. Because that's what you find out in the process. So you may have to, it's like as a sketch, scrub the board, man. Go to a sex therapist, scrub the board, start over. Drop your own perspectives. If you want him to drop his, you're going to have to drop yours. All right. For me and Lubby, we want to thank you for joining with us tonight. You can always find us at latenightlove.us, and you can send us all your questions and everything, and send Lubby dear love letters at love@latenightlove.us. From me and Lubby, we want to, where am I? There we go. We want to thank you for joining us, and please remember to love everybody.
Good night.